Good evening. We have 3 meetings tonight. The first is the Cunningham Town Board. That will be followed by the regular meeting of the Urbana City Council. And the third meeting is the Committee of the Whole, which will be chaired by Bill Brown. I'd like to call the Cunningham Town Board meeting to order. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Ms. Sammons?
Here.
Mr. Brown?
Here.
Mr. Jacobson?
Here in the nick of time.
Mr. Madigan?
Here.
Ms. Marlin?
Here.
Mr. Roberts?
Here.
Mr. Smythe? Mayor Pressing?
Here. The first item is the minutes of the previous meeting, October 6, 2014.
Move approval.
Motion by
second.
Ammons for approval, seconded by Dennis Roberts. Any additions or corrections to the minutes? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion carries. Reports of officers. Committee to verify bills, the Town Fund and the General Assistance Fund. Michelle Mayall.
The November bills that include October interim checks, Town Fund is $49,747.06. The General Assistance Fund is $23,719.93.
Okay.
Your microphone doesn't work?
Oh, I got it. Yeah. All right, I'll make a motion to approve the town fund and the general assistant fund.
Second.
Motion by Roberts, seconded by Marlin. Any discussion?
I just have one question.
Yes. Carol Ammons.
I just wanted to, I see that the blue assistance for November is about 50 people in this list.
For the beginning of November, we do interim checks every Friday, so that's when we open clients mid-month.
Okay.
So the 61 for October is pretty close. We might have one that had their application in, but that should about be it for October. So it'll increase a little bit in
In the
November.
rest of the month.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed? That motion carries. Reports of officers.
The only thing I really have is, I don't have the amounts, but I had talked to Rhonda at the city, and supposedly our health insurance premiums are actually going down for January 2015, so that's all I
I
have.
think it's going to be a 3% reduction.
Right.
Okay, petitions and communication. Is there anyone who would like to address the Cunningham Town Board? Okay, we'll move on. Unfinished business? No. New business, resolution number T 2014-11-006R, a resolution determining the amounts of money necessary to be raised by the tax levy for the tax year 2015 collectible in 2015. Michelle.
This is just stating that we're not raising the levy. If you do more than 5%, then you have to do a whole different meeting and notification and stuff. So we did not even ask for 100%. It was just a little bit less than that, but basically dollar-wise, it's the exact same amount that we have for this year. So it did not increase.
Okay, the assessments might go down a little bit, so the rate would go up.
Right, we're not asking for any increase
Okay,
at all.
all right. So do you want this to be voted on tonight? Is that
Yes,
just the
because
tentative
then-
one? Or is this
No,
it?
this is stating that we don't have to comply with the truth in taxation where you have to have other meetings for the public. The ordinance will be next month
Okay.
when it has it divided out between the town fund and general assistance
Okay.
fund.
Diane,
Well, I would move resolution T 2014-11-006R.
Second.
okay, motion by Marlin, seconded by Smythe. Any discussion? Yes, Bill Brown.
I was looking at the audit report from last year, and it looked like there was about an extra $300,000 added to the fund balance. So I was trying to figure out why we still need the same amount if we aren't spending it. Can you
What
explain
we're
that?
not spending is the Carl money, and then what was not spent in all of the general assistance is the amount of money that was budgeted the previous year, that was done by the previous supervisor for the general assistance client line item. That caseload went down, and we only spent, I would have to look at it, but roughly half or a little more than what was put in the budget.
I mean,
So,
our total expenditures last year were $1,022,000, and we're asking for $1.3 million.
the same as we asked for this past year.
Yeah, that's why it went up last year, $300,000. So I'm just saying that it went up last year, $300,000. It raised our fund balance, which was one of the goals. So it seems like we don't need to do that this year.
We're not raising it.
We're
I
not
didn't raise it, I just asked for the same amount, but with tax caps and stuff, we're not gonna lower the levy and then you don't get, it takes a long time to recoup that money again. We're not sure, with medical and the Affordable Care Act and everything, I'm not gonna take $180,000 out of the medical line item budget when we could be paying the client's medical again. If the Affordable Care Act is not federally funded, it goes right back on us, 90%. And then we're gonna have to come up with that money because by law, we have to have that money. We have to pay the medical and the clients.
It just seems like the fund balance is sufficient to do that. With tax caps, you can go back 3 years to recoup the highest assessment in the past 3 years. So next year, if we need to raise it, we aren't capped by what we set this year. We can go back 3 years.
Right, and we still have the Carl and Provena money that's in limbo, not knowing whether that's going to be an expenditure.
I understand that, and that's set aside.
Okay, any other questions? Yes, Mike?
So is what you're saying is you're asking for basically the same levy, but you're going to continue to aggressively manage the caseload to try to keep expenditures to the level they have been this year, or of course they may increase if there are legitimate claims
Right.
that need to be paid by the township. I totally appreciate what Bill is saying, but I think what you're saying is, let's keep it at this level, but I'm going to continue, meaning you, are going to continue to manage the township to make sure that we're paying what is justified as opposed to what has apparently been happening in the past where there were unjustified claims being paid. Well, that's an unfair question for you for me to ask of you, but it seems to me what you're asking for here is the same levy with your continued aggressive management to make sure that people are meeting the requirements for subsidy.
Correct.
Okay, Eric?
And maybe just to make sure that I understand, I think you're also saying that you are, in fact, putting in a little bit of a cushion, but that there are some possibly serious adverse hits on the budget coming down the line, and in order not to be really in a bind at that time, that's continuing the current levy is justified.
Correct.
Okay.
And I didn't want to raise it because we are sustainable on the amount that we levied for this past year. So I don't want to ask for money just to have it and put it in the, surplus, because if Carl money becomes an asset, then we're totally fine. If it becomes an expense, like I said before, then we only have about 5 or 6 months worth in our surplus.
Right.
So just to not, it's error on the side of caution. I don't want to have to go to the bank and take out a loan
Right.
for the township to pay general assistant, client, and medical, because we are regulated by the state. We have to do that regardless. And I checked with the county, I think last Thursday or Friday, I talked with Sasha Green, she helps me a lot with the levy out there and make sure that I have my numbers right and everything. And she went back to 1983, and this is the first year that the levy has not ever been raised. So,
Carol Ammons.
I just want to clarify something. I did see in the Township magazine that each year there's a proposal to eliminate township governments because some believe that it's a duplicated service or you're not serving many people anymore. And so each month when I look at this, I'm wondering if it's aggressive management or are we denying more people than usual? And I'm interested in knowing what the difference is between those who are eligible and those who are not eligible for whatever reasons they're not eligible, because the numbers going down may signal that there's no need. Some people may believe that there's no need
sure.
looking at this, and so I'm concerned about that. And I would hope that we would certainly monitor it to see and make sure that we are not denying people that should be eligible.
No, I
And
think the aggressive management that Mike is referring to is, let me know if I'm wrong, Mike, but when the caseload was extremely high at the 141 or 140, a month or two before I took office, I had been there at that point for 17 years as the director of accounting. So I know the trend where it had leveled out, and the caseload has never been that high. Never should have been that high. So when I took office and we went through all of those cases, there were people that should never have been opened. There were people that weren't qualified. We're not turning anybody away. They followed the same checklist, the same procedures, the same requirements that everybody does that walks in that door and fills out an application. We're not denying anybody service that is entitled to it at all. And if you
I
look,
just want to clarify that because some people really believe that township government is not necessary at this point.
right, or it wouldn't have been in the magazine, I know. But the caseworker that is there now was there previous, before the caseload went and spiked at 140. And when she was the caseworker, it was 50, 60, 70 a month. So she's doing her job because that's what I expect from the employees. So we're not denying people just because we don't want to spend the money. We've got to do it. But we follow the rules for everybody, no matter who you are or who you say you know. It doesn't matter. The rules apply to everybody, and that's it.
Okay. Bill?
Just one more clarification. The taxes that we're levying now, none of those are being challenged by Carl, right? Those have already been eliminated. So of this 1.3 million, we're pretty much guaranteed, hopefully, we don't have to pay any of that back.
Hopefully. And when I did this amount last year, and then they send you, the tax cap amount, we could have got like $103 more than what we actually levied for, but we didn't take it because we had already had this set. So that is why.
So that's why it's
there's
$103 less.
And that's why instead of
105.
asking for 100%, it's the 99.9920.
Okay, I appreciate that. I'm going to vote no. I think we could have done better. It's $100 less than last year. I think we could have done 100,000 and still increased the fund balance.
Okay, anyone else? Charlie?
I think I understand what Michelle is also saying. With respect to tax caps, it really mucks up our ability to be flexible like this. And we could probably cut the levy, but then we may be if we have to raise the levy to match an unforeseen circumstance, we won't be able to because of tax caps, the way I understand the way tax caps work.
Okay. Did you want to say something else, Mike?
I just want to say I really appreciate what Bill is saying, and he's actually on the conservative side of me on this issue, and may very well be right. But here's what I'll say about all of this. I have faith in Michelle and what she's doing. She's managing that office like it hasn't been managed for years. And so I think that if there are savings to be had, they will be had regardless of what we do tonight. So I have faith in her. I'm going to vote yes. And I appreciate the management that she has brought to that office. I really do. That's why I sent you the You Rock Michelle email, because she really is doing the job that we need to do there. Now, that being said, I hope this doesn't hurt your feelings, but I think Cunningham Township should go away. I really do. It is something that historically might have been important, but it is no longer important to be a separate government entity. Case in point, the last township meeting of Cunningham, all of us made the equivalent of about $350 an hour per diem. It was an 8-minute meeting. All right. So I will be at the appropriate time proposing that the township be eliminated. At a minimum, that the per diem for city council members be eliminated, because it's absolutely ridiculous that we receive 42, 43, whatever it is, dollars an hour or dollars a meeting to sit here prior to a city council meeting where we're getting paid, what, upper $4,000 a year to sit in the city council meeting. So at a minimum, we ought not to be taking Cunningham Township budget for sitting in a chair, which we're also going to be sitting and getting paid for a city council meeting immediately prior. So that ought to go away. But at a minimum, that ought to go away. At a maximum, that doesn't even make any sense. But really, what ultimately ought to happen here is we ought to consider absorbing the township into the city. And I really don't think that's a big deal. The same programs for support for the most needy of our constituents can still be met, but they don't need to be met through the township system of government. It's something that ought to just be reserved for rural communities who need to maintain their roads. That really is what townships ought to be focused on, not about welfare. We can take care of that through our city budget. There's no reason that the mayor could not have Michelle and her staff and the other support staff to take care of that function. And we eliminate one of the thousands and thousands of townships in the state of Illinois. I mean, I think it's a very simple thing that we could do to eliminate a government entity and still provide the service uninterrupted to the folks who need it.
Okay, we have a motion to approve resolution 2014-11-006R. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Ms. Sammons?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
No.
Mr. Jacobson?
Yes.
Mr. Madigan?
Yes.
Ms. Marlin?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Smythe?
Yes.
That motion carries. There being no further business, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
All right.